We fill our lives with so much stuff, accumulating things. It often steals our time and energy and creates stress. A getaway here can, through its natural beauty, its quaint small towns, bring us back to the simple life, to things that really matter. Faith, relationships, enjoying God's creation, being thankful for what we have, to fully live in the moment, unburdened by stuff and technology. From the shores of Lake Champlain, across the Green Mountains to the Connecticut River. In Vermont, nature is calling us to explore. Have you ever experienced a scenic drive along the Quechee River, traveled through the Middlebury Gap, hiked in the Green Mountains, biked on the Island Line Trail? How about taking a ferry across Lake Champlain, or ridden on Amtrak's Vermonter? If you have, you'll understand why many say this is the most beautiful state in the U.S. Across its lush grassland valleys, you'll find general stores, more than 100 covered bridges, farm-to-table dining, vintage architecture.
You want some of my maple creamy?
And most importantly, maple creamies. In Burlington, we'll cruise on the spirit of Ethan Allen. Show you the Champlain Valley Dinner Train. Take you to Shellburne Farms and Church Street Marketplace. We'll travel to Brattleboro, Bennington, Putney, Bellows Falls, Middlebury, Montpelier, and Lake Willoughby. We'll drive on some of the most scenic highways and roads in Vermont, like Route 100, Route 125, the Molly Stark Trail, and U.S. Highway 5 along the Connecticut River, and the Mohawk Trail in northern Massachusetts. We'll give tips on lodging and dining for your Vermont getaway. This is the second of our 6-part Fall Colors series. Last week we showed Blue Ridge, Georgia. Next week will be Boston. And we also have New Hampshire and Rhode Island coming soon. But first, join us as we explore vibrant, beautiful, and colorful Vermont. Being that we came from Boston, we headed west through Massachusetts and decided to take one of the most scenic roads in the U.S., the Mohawk Trail. It crosses the Connecticut River about 11 miles south of the Vermont border and follows the river for about 5 miles. There's a scenic spot here in Gill, Massachusetts, overlooking the Turner Falls Dam and Turner Gill Bridge, where the river does a horseshoe bend. Further upstream, the Connecticut River is the border between Vermont and New Hampshire. Turner Falls is one of Massachusetts' hidden gems, great place to visit with fishing, boating, parks, and the falls. Continuing west on the Mohawk Trail, another place you might want to check out is the town of Shellburne Falls, nestled in the Berkshire foothills, alongside the Deerfield River. It is famous for this bridge of flowers next to the steel bridge, but currently closed for a $3 million restoration project. The Mohawk Trail then runs along the Deerfield River and further down the Cold River for some of the most scenic parts of the trail. It is a lot like Vermont here, with over 100 attractions, country inns, gift shops, and camping areas along the highway. The Mohawk Park campground here with RV and tent sites, as well as 6 rustic cabins on the Deerfield River. The Mohawk Trail climbs to an elevation of 2,000 feet at the Wigwam Western Summit, where there's a sky bar, a coffee house, and a bakery, and the Golden Eagle Restaurant and Lounge, with a breathtaking view of the Taconic Mountain Range, one of the best views in New England. So, if you are heading to western Vermont from Boston, you might want to consider the Mohawk Trail. It is a total of 69 miles and ends in Williamstown, where we pick up US 7 and head to Vermont. We arrive in Bennington, which was Vermont's first chartered town way back in 1749 as a New Hampshire territory. In Vermont, you won't find any skyscrapers. In fact, this Bennington Battle Monument at 306 feet is the tallest structure in Vermont. It commemorates the Battle of Bennington during the Revolutionary War, built in 1891. From late May through October, you can take an elevator to the top. It is $8 for adults, $2 for children 6 to 14. Bennington has 3 different historic districts. There's Old Bennington, North Bennington, where the paper mill and Silk Road covered bridges are at, and this is Main Street, downtown Bennington. Here, Route 9 becomes the Molly Stark Trail, a scenic byway. This 48-mile route between Bennington and Brattleboro is Vermont's southernmost scenic drive. In Wilmington is the Harriman Reservoir, Vermont's second largest lake. Wilmington is midway between Bennington and Brattleboro. It's the southern terminus of the Green Mountains, a small town with restaurants with live music. In winter, there's world-class skiing with the Mount Snow Resort 10 miles north of downtown. And in the summer, the Molly Stark State Park 3 miles east of downtown. For a while, Highway 9 and Route 100 share the same roadway here. We'll catch up to Route 100 later in the video. In the Hogback Mountain Conservation Area, where there's the 100-mile view, overlook with a nice view of Wilmington. In Brattleboro, we arrive at the Creamery covered bridge, built in 1879. Brattleboro, once known for a variety of covered railroad and highway bridges, this is the only one to survive. Brattleboro is 10 miles north of the Massachusetts state line. On the banks of the Connecticut River, this has long been a magnet for artists, writers, and poets. A scenic rustic downtown where you'll find plenty of unique and artistic shops, galleries, restaurants, and pubs. First Friday of each month, 5 to 9 p.m. from May through December, is the Gallery Walk with live music, food trucks, and interactive art stations. In winter, there's Market on Main, a seasonal holiday market, which transforms Brattleboro to a winter wonderland on the weekend. The Latchis Art Deco style theater, showing first run in indie movies with live shows. For coffee, there's Ames Bakery, with a variety of pastries and dining overlooking the railroad tracks. Across the street is the Works Cafe, a counter-serve cafe for breakfast, pastries, sandwiches, and coffee. In the middle of downtown, a nice park area to enjoy your cup of brew. We head west of downtown on one of Vermont's many picturesque dirt roads. Vermont has over 8,500 miles of dirt roads, which is more than the state's paved roads. A popular attraction in Brattleboro is the Robb family farm sugar house. For you RVers, this is also a Harvest Host location. It's a 15-minute drive from downtown Brattleboro. You can pick up some syrup products like maple syrup, cream, and brittle. They are very friendly, and you see the process of how maple is harvested and created into syrup.
Tap it in, sap runs down through into those lines and that little pump house. So in here, all we're doing is taking out water. We're all wood fired. If you just hold it up to the light, that gives you your colors.
We stayed at this Travelodge in Brattleboro. A pet-friendly, reasonably priced lodging and decent clean room. 15 minutes north of Brattleboro is Putney, a gorgeous region with hiking trails, wineries, and orchards. There's the Putney Mountain Hawk Watch, an easy 1.3-mile hike, where in the spring and fall you'll see hawks. More scenic dirt roads as we head to Green Mountain Orchards. Here you can pick your own fruit. The season begins in mid-July with blueberries, and apples ripen around the end of August. They also have peaches and raspberries and plums on a limited basis. Inside, some delicious baked items.
It's a pumpkin walnut muffin, one of the best muffins I've tasted.
They also host the Winter Putney's Farmers Market every Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., from Thanksgiving to Christmas. And the Summer Farmers Market is held in downtown Putney on Highway 5, across from the Putney Food Co-op, from mid-May to mid-October. Further up Highway 5 is Harlows Sugar House, where you can enjoy a maple creamy or stroll through an orchard. 14 miles north of Putney is the village of Bellows Falls, located on the rushing waters of the Connecticut River. Here is one of the first canals built in the U.S. Multiple vintage bridges make this a very scenic village. At the Bellows Falls Fish Ladder Nature Museum, you can take a peek underneath the water and explore interpretive exhibits. Open Fridays and Sundays from Memorial Day through Labor Day weekend. This downtown historic district features the distinctive Bellows Falls Opera House in the center of downtown. A 6-story clock tower built in 1926, today a cozy movie theater with contemporary films and classic movie nights every other Wednesday. The Green Mountain, Boston and Maine Railroad Bridge here, and the Bellows Falls Hydroelectric Dam. On the other side of the river is North Walpole, New Hampshire, and way off in the distance, Mount Ascutney. Continuing north on US 5, we cross the Williams River. US 5 parallels I-91. 20 miles north of Bellows Falls is Wilga State Park, a good place for kayaking on the Connecticut River, as well as hiking. Now crossing over I-91. We enter the town of Windsor, where there's lots of outdoor activities, most notably hiking trails climbing Mount Ascutney. This is one of the most popular mountain summits of the state. It is a 12-mile round-trip trail and takes about 3.5 to 4 hours to do. Also here, the Cornish-Windsor Bridge, a 2-span lattice truss covered bridge. When it opened in 1866, it cost 2 cents for foot travelers to travel to New Hampshire, but 3 cents to return to Vermont. Another mile north of the bridge is the old Constitution House, the birthplace of the Constitution of Vermont, and next to that, a linear park area on Lake Runnymede. The village of White River Junction is in the town of Hartford. This is where the Connecticut and the White Rivers come together, and also where I-89 and I-91 cross. It is also a stop for Amtrak's Vermonter, which crosses the state with scenic vistas of the Green Mountains. It also goes to New York City and Washington, D.C. Being that White River Junction is just 15 minutes from Quechee and 30 minutes from Woodstock, it can be a good place to stay with less expensive options for lodging. We stayed at the Super 8, one of the better Super 8s, well maintained. And it's pet friendly. And there's a really good Chinese buffet here, China Moon Buffet. There's also a good dog park on the river. This big dog, Kevin, really loving Bailey, but Bailey says, I'm not so sure. Quechee State Park, one of the most beautiful state parks of Vermont. At 165 feet deep, this is the deepest gorge in Vermont and can be viewed from the Route 4 bridge. There's easy hiking trails on both sides of the Quechee River, and camping with cabins, and kayaking within the park. It's $5 for adults, $2 for children 4 to 13. 15 minutes from the Quechee Gorge is the village of Woodstock, which I think might be the most beautiful town in the U.S. A quintessential New England village with a quaint main street, restored historic homes, with the Quechee River running through it. So picturesque. There's the Taftsville Covered Bridge here, perhaps the most scenic covered bridge in Vermont because of its location being on the Quechee River and next to this Taftsville Dam. Now, if you cross the bridge, there's a scenic road along the river you must take. Old River Road runs 3 miles from the Taftsville Bridge to the Billings Farm and Museum. I'd recommend to pick a sunny morning to travel through here, with the early morning sun peeking through the trees and the reflection of the Quechee River, with a mixture of forested and lush farmlands. Just amazing. It ends up on the back side of the Billings Farm and Museum. This is an active working farm. The museum is dedicated to scientific farming history, with interactive exhibits and demonstrations. There's over 70 Jersey cows, which are constantly milking. Also 2 draft horses, 2 steers, Berkshire pigs, goats, and sheep. You are able to pet the animals in the barns, but not in the pastures. It's open throughout the year. It's $19 for adults, $12 for children 3 to 15. We cross back over the Quechee River on the Elm Street Bridge. Woodstock is the perfect location for a romantic getaway with a bed and breakfast. You have many options here. You can find them on Vrbo. On the downtown side of the river is a new park only a couple years old, East End Park, with the amphitheater. You'll find regular events. In the summer, there's music by the river, Friday evening, 6 p.m. to 7:30. Picnic tables along the river, and also the Quechee River Trail, a 3-mile walking trail along the river. Parts of it over the former Woodstock Railroad. This is not a bike path, but there is good biking in Woodstock. You'll find the Route 4 Bikes truck here, where you can rent bikes. Next to the park is the Quechee Yacht Club, where you can enjoy a meal on picnic tables outdoors. And also, next to Easton Park is the Shire Hotel on the river. You can find on Booking.com. They are pet friendly for a $30 per day pet fee. Continuing on US 4, there's the Montpelier Cafe with nice patio seating, farm-to-table food for breakfast and lunch, and great coffee. They can get crowded in the summer and fall, so come early. So, if you pick a handful of towns to visit in Vermont, Woodstock should definitely be one of them. On the west end of Woodstock is The Green, a linear park in the middle of US 4. And another 3.5 miles from downtown on US 4 is the Lincoln Covered Bridge. We're going to head towards Burlington. We're going to take a couple of the most scenic highways in the state to get there. First, we pick up Route 100 near the Killington Resort, which is considered one of the top ski resorts on the East Coast. Route 100 travels nearly the entire state of Vermont, some 216 miles. It begins at the Massachusetts state line, runs through the center of the state, along the eastern border of the Green Mountain National Forest, and ends in Newport, Vermont, near the Canadian border. Newport is beautiful. We showed in our previous Vermont video. Just north of US 4 is the pet-friendly Gifford Woods State Park. This is at the base of the Killington and Pico Mountain peaks. It's a favorite for hikers and bikers. We saw the Appalachian Trail last week in our Blue Ridge, Georgia video, just 4 miles from its start. Well, here we are 1,711 miles up the trail, which goes through Gifford Woods and around the Camp Pond on its way to New Hampshire and Maine. This is the Pesky Cairn Trail, an easy 4-mile out-and-back trail, good for mountain bikers. And there's the Kent Brook Trail, a hiking-only trail, just over 1.5 miles long. Within the park, there are also 4 cabins, as well as 21 tent and RV sites for camping. Further north on Route 100, we arrive in Pittsfield. Here there's the pet-friendly Clear River Inn and Tavern. Pittsfield is surrounded by rolling hills and close to numerous lakes and rivers. There's tubing on the Tweed River here. A good place to make a pit stop on your Route 100 journey is the Original General Store. They have locally sourced foods, wraps, juices, coffee, and a chocolate bar. A vintage front porch to enjoy the country setting. Another 4 miles up Route 100 is the gorgeous village of Stockbridge. The White River flows through the valley here. You'll find 2 golf courses here as well, the White River Golf Club and the Green Mountain National Golf Course. And there is also good hiking and fishing here too. And finally, there's Rochester, Vermont. On the right, Sandy's Books and Bakery with good espresso and lattes. Also, the Maple Soul, farm-to-table food in a cozy eatery with a fireplace. At Hancock, Vermont, we leave Route 100, turn left on Vermont 125. On the corner here, the old Hancock Hotel, now a dine-in restaurant. On the left, there's Hubbard's Country Store, a good stop for sandwiches, pizza, or macaroons. This route goes for 35 miles total. Beginning here in Hancock, following the Hancock branch of the White River, through Robert Frost country, and ending near the Champlain Bridge. Four miles from Route 100 is the Texas Falls Recreation Area. These are just the little falls, but the bigger Texas Falls on the trail is 35 feet. There's the Texas Falls Nature Trail, a 1.2-mile loop trail, and the Hancock Trail, a 1.3-mile trail that crosses the river 3 times. Another 3.5 miles up the road is where the long trail crosses Route 125. You can follow it on either side of the road. As the name implies, it's long. At 272 miles, considered the oldest footpath in the U.S. Follows the main ridge of the Green Mountains from Massachusetts state border to the Canadian border. It shares about 100 miles with the Appalachian Trail. We passed by the Vermont House at Bread Loaf, a historic 4-bedroom vacation rental you can book on Vrbo. 7 miles from Texas Falls is a couple of Robert Frost parks. First, the Wayside Park on the north side of the highway. Here you see a little history of the region and Robert Frost, a poet who was inspired by Vermont's landscape. He spent 40 years of his life living and visiting this area of Vermont with a summer cabin. A quarter of a mile down the road, on the south side of Route 125, is the Robert Frost Interpretive Trail. This is an easy ADA accessible 0.9-mile trail with boardwalks. Has poems of Robert Frost along the way. Frost wrote 5 volumes of poetry while in this Ripton, Vermont region. You can understand why he was so inspired here. The calm sound of the south branch of the Middlebury River is just so relaxing. We arrive in the town of Middlebury, which I believe is one of the most beautiful towns of Vermont, set in the foothills of the Green Mountains. We showed more of it in our previous Vermont video. Otter Creek runs through downtown. There's footbridges, waterfalls, museums, a theater, and many restaurants. From here, Burlington is just an hour's drive up US Highway 7. Now, lodging in Burlington can be very expensive in the summer and fall. In fact, I found the hotels in Burlington more than 3 times what they cost across Lake Champlain in New York. So I suggest if you don't mind about an hour of traveling time to and from Burlington, try staying in either Plattsburgh, New York or Ticonderoga, New York. And by doing this, you not only save money, but also enjoy a scenic ferry ride across Lake Champlain, as well as a scenic drive through the Champlain Valley. If staying in Plattsburgh, you would take the Plattsburgh Grand Isle Ferry. Now, we stayed at this pet-friendly Super 8 in Ticonderoga, New York. A good hotel and inexpensive. You have the southernmost crossing here, the Fort Ticonderoga Ferry, although this ferry is only open May through October.
My name's Jack Doyle. I own this thing.
Okay.
And it's a bit of a labor of love, but, you know, it's very cool. As I said, it's the baptismal font of the Republic.
Crossings take 7 minutes. It's $12 one way or $20 round trip. Additional passengers $4. It is cash only. About 30 miles up the lake is the Charlotte-Essex ferry. It is $11.75 each way. Additional passengers $5.25 for adults, $3 children 6 to 12. This ferry does accept credit cards and accepts vehicles up to 40 tons. You get scenic views of the Adirondack Mountains as you depart New York. This ferry does operate year-round, although in winter it may not operate if there's high winds or ice blockages, and it's a more limited schedule in winter. Nice views of the Green Mountains that we just drove through. It drops you off about 50 miles south of Burlington. And your other option is to just use the Champlain Bridge. This is about 20 miles south of the Essex-Charlotte Ferry. The Champlain Memorial Lighthouse. There's the Crown Point Campground here, where you can camp for $18 a night. By crossing here, you get a nice scenic drive up Route 17 and 22A through the Champlain Valley. The Fort Ticonderoga ferry will also get you the same drive up Route 22A from a little further south, and then you connect with US 7. Just 10 minutes south of Burlington on US 7, one of the most popular attractions in Vermont is the Shellburne Museum. Located on 45 acres with 39 exhibition buildings and 22 gardens. While it is spread out, there are shuttles to save a little walking. It showcases art, design, and Americana. There's concerts here during the summer. It is open from mid-May through the third week of October. There's winter lights from mid-November to the first week of January. It is $25 for adults, $14 for youth 13 to 17, and $12 for children 5 to 12. A couple of miles from the museum is Shellburne Farms, with a preserved Gilded Age barn built in 1891. This is a 1,400-acre working farm with a variety of barnyard animals, from a brown Swiss calf to goats, sheep, donkeys, pigs, and more. The views and the setting is just gorgeous on the shores of Lake Champlain. There's a bakery and food cart from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. where you can enjoy farm-grown lunch and snacks. Also a woodworking shop. On selected days, you can watch them make cheese. There's more than 10 miles of trails that meander through the fields, pastures, and forests, and to the lake. Be aware the trails to the inn and the lakeshore is a 4-mile round trip from the Welcome Center. They also have lodging at the inn with 24 rooms and 5 cottages. The barn activities, lodging, and tours are from mid-May to mid-October, but the trails, the farm store, and the pastures of animals are open year-round. There is no fee to visit the farm, but there is a charge for some of the activities, like a tour of the farm in a wagon. You just check in at the Welcome Center for a visitor guide with a trail map. And we finally arrived in Burlington. It is Vermont's most populated municipality. But even so, it's only around 45,000 people. Only 5% of Vermont's municipalities are cities. The rest of them are towns or villages, which is one of the things that make Vermont unique. For parking along the waterfront, the bigger lots are $20 a day, but there's metered parking along the street for a reasonable $1 an hour with a 3-hour limit. The Burlington Trolley offers a 1-hour narrated tour for $35 through downtown, Winooski, Old North End, and the Intervale, an agricultural neighborhood. They also offer a 3.5-hour fall foliage tour. We're going to hop on a boat tour, but just across the boat dock is the Skinny Pancake, a local chain featuring breakfast, crepes, panini, and homegrown delicious maple syrup. You place your order inside and they bring it out to you. I'm having a Noah's Ark on their menu. Includes frumpled cinnamon sugar sweet crepes. All right, let's take you on Lake Champlain. The Spirit of Ethan Allen operates May through October. We passed the Splash at the Boathouse, a seafood restaurant with dining on a floating dock. This triple-deck ship offers daily scenic lunch, brunch, and nightly themed dinner cruises, or you can just do it as a sightseeing cruise. It is a 2.5-hour tour. The cruise without the meal is $37 for adults, $16 for children 3 to 11, and $5 for infants. A sunset cruise add $9. The lunch cruise is about $49 and the dinner cruise $70. You get great views of both the Green Mountains and the Adirondack Mountains of New York. We passed by North Beach Park. We'll bike around there a little later to show you more. Next to North Beach is Rock Point, which offers 2 miles of hiking trails. Best way to access this area is by parking at Letty Park and walking south on the bike path to the Holy Trinity Trailhead. This ship is named after one of the founders of Vermont, Ethan Allen, a military officer who helped capture Fort Ticonderoga during the Revolutionary War. Lake Champlain is the sixth largest freshwater lake in the country. At 124 miles long, it forms much of the western border of Vermont. It is 14 miles wide at its widest point here in Burlington. Perkins Pier is a nice little park with a playground, picnic areas, and several benches overlooking Lake Champlain. This is a great spot to watch the sunset or to access the Island Line bike trail. Parking here is $3 per hour, May through October, $2 per hour the rest of the year, payable through the Park mobile app or at the kiosk. All right, let's hop on a bike. But first, Bailey wants to try one of Vermont's favorite desserts.
You want some of my maple creamy?
There's a little ice cream stand right here on the Island Line Trail, across from the train station. They call it a creamy because it's creamier, denser, and richer than regular soft-serve ice cream. If you don't have a bike, you can rent one here at Locomotion Bike Rentals. The Island Line Trail is a 13-mile trail along Lake Champlain, rolling through waterfront parks in Burlington and Colchester. It crosses the lake on a 3-mile causeway. It follows the route of the Island Line Railroad.
We could wander as far as the eye can see. I wanna take you with me. Where do you wanna go? Imagine the way it could be if life was an open road. Come on and take it easy. See the whole world up close. Let's get lost in the great unknown.
And it travels along North End Beach and Rock Point mentioned earlier that we saw from the boat. E-bikes are allowed on the trail. It is mostly paved. There is a small part of it that turns into fine gravel. Just a very pleasant ride. On the waterfront is Union Station, where Amtrak's Ethan Allen Express provides daily service between New York City and Burlington. And this is also where you board the Champlain Valley Dinner Train by Vermont Rail System. This is a relaxing 3-hour round trip from Burlington to Vergennes while you enjoy a 3-course meal. It operates between mid-June to the end of October. It is $200 for 2 people for a shared table, or $300 for a private table, or $345 for 3 people, or $400 for 4 people. Now it's time for a bite to eat. There's Shanty on the Shore, across from Perkins Pier, a seafood restaurant with a raw bar and surf and turf menu. And another place with similar second-floor outdoor seating is Burlington Bay Market and Cafe, a counter-serve eatery. I'm having a blackened salmon sandwich. And on the first floor, you can get creamies. Before we leave Burlington, I want to show you a little of downtown. 5 blocks from the waterfront is the Church Street Marketplace, and adjacent to that is City Hall Park. Here at this Himalayan Delight food kiosk, you can get dumplings native to Nepal with sesame and maple sauces. This neoclassical Burlington City Hall was built in 1928. The Church Street Marketplace is an outdoor pedestrian mall. Reminds me a lot of Pearl Street Mall in Boulder City, Colorado. Like Boulder, it is near a college, here at the University of Vermont, just a few blocks away. There are decorated boulders to sit or play on, lots of patio dining on the brick-paved mall under the gorgeous trees. For lattes or espressos, there's Black Cap Coffee and Bakery. You'll find Burlington to be very dog-friendly. Bailey saying hello to Gracie, an Australian Labradoodle. Before we end this video with Manchester and Lake Willoughby, I want to show you the sun setting over the Adirondack Mountains in Lake Champlain. From Perkins Pier, some of the most gorgeous sunsets you'll see. Now there's 2 routes you can take between Burlington and Manchester. There's US 7 and there's 22A. Both will take about the same time. I recommend 22A, as this will take you through Vergennes in the Champlain Valley and some of the most beautiful farmlands of Vermont, little towns like Orwell. Now this is just south of the Fort Ticonderoga ferry we showed earlier. Here's some of the scenery of western Vermont en route 22A. In Manchester is the estate of Abraham Lincoln's son, Robert, and his wife, Mary. It's a Georgian revival mansion with gardens, trails, and the Hildene Farm. It is open year-round and beautiful in winter with the snow. There are also 14 historic buildings, including the home, and an observatory. It is $23 for adults, $6 for children 6 to 16. Also in Manchester is the Southern Vermont Arts Center and the American Museum of Fly Fishing. And there's a trail that climbs to Mount Equinox. And I might mention, it's also very festive during holiday season. Manchester and Woodstock, I think, are two of Vermont's most popular towns to visit. And there's the capital of Vermont, Montpelier, with the Winooski River flowing through it. The town is the smallest state capital in the U.S., but probably the most beautiful, with historic sites and maple farms that surround it. For outdoor activities, there's Hubbard and North Branch Park, with hiking and mountain biking in the summer and fall, and cross-country skiing in the winter. The Capitol building is one of the oldest and best preserved of all U.S. capitals. At the top is Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, symbolizing the importance of that industry to this state. And finally, can't do a video of Vermont without mentioning the Northeast Kingdom. There's Newport, Vermont, near the Canadian border. It is on the south end of Lake Memphremagog. And there's also Lake Willoughby. The views here are just breathtaking, with the lake surrounded by the mountain peaks of Mount Pisgah and Mount Hor. You can drive on Route 5A around the east side of the lake. This is a 5-mile lake, and the water is extremely clear and beautiful. Well, there is so much to Vermont I didn't show. So many other little quaint villages. So I'd love to hear your experiences here in the comments below. I've listed the places featured in this video in the description, which is a good reference for you to help you plan your Vermont getaway. Also, if traveling with a dog, I recommend these Kurgle dog backpacks. Just makes it so convenient for you. And you can often bring your dog to places you otherwise might not be able to. We are Tampa Aerial Media. We film travel videos across the USA. For stock footage, or if you would like to hire us to film your city, region, or vacation rental, contact me at info@tampaaerialmedia.com. Next, we go from the quaint small towns and villages of Vermont to New England's largest city, Boston.
I'm from Boston, and these cannons, these 60 cannons, rescued the city of Boston, which was being held hostage by the British. Without control of this water and the cannons from the fort, the Revolutionary War could have gone a whole different way.
And we still have New Hampshire and Rhode Island to show you. From the colorful hills of Vermont, I wish blessings to you, wherever you may be.